Hello again and welcome to the IBA's weekly bulletin of engineering information for the radio and television trade, the last of 1989. Today we look at community radio under the IBA's incremental franchise scheme, a success story for 1989. We also look at some other notable events during the last 12 months and the future of broadcasting as the IBA prepares to enter its final year.
But first, community radio, which looks set to make a big impact among ethnic minorities and special interest groups. Here's Janet Salkeld.
1989 saw the start of a new generation of independent radio stations which cater for communities of common interest in relatively small geographical areas. Many cities are now very cosmopolitan. In West London, for example, there's a large Asian population. So far, the IBA have granted 22 franchises to stations which will provide specialist programming for the local community on either VHF FM or medium wave AM, as there is no frequency duplication.
ये सनराइज रेडियो है। सुगम संगीत का ये प्रोग्राम तो चिचागर आपकी खिदमत में पेश कर रही है।
24 hours a day, Sunrise Radio.
The station is unique in that it enjoys the almost fanatical...
Community stations have been established under the IBA's incremental contract scheme, as they are all located within the service areas of existing commercial radio. Sunrise Radio operates 24 hours a day on medium wave, and Avtar Lit, who is their chief executive, outlines his program plans for the new station.
The aim of the station is to serve the Asian communities which are settled, a very large community in West London, who like to be entertained as far as music is concerned in their own languages, but rest of the communications in English. It is a specific station which caters for the Asian needs in West London. Their desire for local news is the same as any other member of the public, but they also desire specialist news from India and Pakistan, and perhaps the news about the Asian communities within the UK. So therefore we have links with the local newspapers, both Asian and English newspapers, and English newspapers overseas, so whereby this station is a gathering operation of news about the Asian community throughout the world. Most of the people advertising with us currently, under normal circumstances, would not have advertised on another London radio station. They are sort of small to medium sized businesses who are advertising on the radio for the first time.
What we're going to do, it's a scene of a forecourt, and the confused customer goes into the salesman. Right. And basically he's going to ask to see a van, but he's going to be stitched up. Right. What we want to try and emphasise is that this van centre, they're not going to be stitched up. The voiceover at the end will give the good points of the script, yeah, and then there'll be the hilarious caption at the end, we hope. Right. Okay, it's going to run to 60 seconds.
We have a specialist recruitment desk here because there are a large number of employees in the area, and they feel that they can reach the local community on our radio station. When an average English person, or in fact a European person, actually talks about shopping, perhaps when they talk about shopping in London, they would think automatically of Oxford Street and Regent Street. When an Asian from Germany, France, from anywhere in Europe, or other Asians from north of the country, or Gravesend, Kent, Medway towns, when they talk about going to London for shopping, they're not talking about Oxford Street or anywhere else, they're talking about Southall. And Southall is the hub of the Asian community, is the largest centre of Asian community outside India itself. There is no place like it. When you walk through the streets of Southall, it would be very difficult to believe you're actually in England.
2 community stations have recently opened in North London. Afro-Caribbean listeners are served by WNK Radio in Haringey.
And soul, reggae and soca, of course. So why don't you make it a date and join us at 12 o'clock, WNK Radio, your local community station.
Joe Douglas is the managing director, and first he explains the origin of the station's name.
WNK stands for Wicked, Neutral and Kickin', which is an Afro-Caribbean phrase, really, and that's how we came about. We've been pretty successful when we were a pirate, and we hope to be successful now that we're legal. We're targeting the Afro-Caribbean community, but also the fact that WNK can be heard in various other people, like people listening like English people, Turks, Greeks. We will look at a catchment of 1.3 million that we can target at least 10% of that, whether they're black, white, or pink.
North London local community radio station that was launched on the 6th of November, and why I'm ringing you is to see if you're interested in advertising on air with us.
Our music will be soul, reggae, soca, and African music, which will be all aspects of black music. We are doing our very best to help local communities as possible we can. We've got ourselves a community announcement box here, wherever's happening in the community that each presenter will take it out, read out in his show.
Renewing, on air from time to time to keep the name actually in people's minds.
To encourage closer links with the community, part-time staff and volunteers are involved in incremental radio. This is consistent with the open access policy under which these stations were originally established. WNK's coverage of North London is on VHF from a transmitter at Alexandra Palace. This transmitter is shared with London Greek Radio, which provides alternative 4-hour periods of programmes for about 200,000 people of Greek origin.
Well, there are some 200,000 Greek people in London, mainly coming from the island of Cyprus. So on Sundays and on other feast days, they want to go to church. But there are thousands and thousands who are unable to go to church because they're elderly or incapacitated or because they live far away. So the LGR came here to fulfill a need by broadcasting the church service every Sunday.
The requirement for a Greek radio station has been evident for some time. Managing Director Dr. Zenetos Tofilis explains.
Well, London Greek Radio was founded in October 1983 and for 5 years was operating as an unlicensed station or pirate station, as you call us. The station became extremely popular. Some 50,000 signatures were collected asking the government to legalize LGR. We closed down on the 31st of December 1988 in order to apply for a license. And when we were granted the license on the 13th of May this year, the entire community was delighted. About 60% of our time is devoted to music and entertainment in general. 20% on news and current affairs. These news are coming from Greece and from Cyprus and from the community. And also 20% on educational, cultural programs.
Ακούτε τον ελληνικό κυπριακό ραδιοφωνικό σταθμό του Λονδίνου στη συχνότητα 103,3 FM. Φίλοι μου, τραγουδάει για σας ο Γιάννης Πάριος «Να το πάρεις το κορίτσι». Η μουσική είναι του Ζάκ Ιακωβίδη και η στίχη του Κώστα Νικολαίδη. Απολαύστε το.
So what's the latest in Cyprus? Okay, the president, the president is coming tomorrow, isn't he? Okay. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Other programs in English in the future we're considering is perhaps Greek travels to tell us about the magic of Cyprus and Greece or Greek mythology, which is a fascinating subject.
With such a wide selection of programs, the new stations have quickly become established as a source of entertainment and information for ethnic listeners.
I think it's something that was needed in Southall very badly because people weren't really in with the local news, and I think the news that they give every hour is a great help to people. They know what's going on in Southall.
They play all sorts of music. Is that what you like? Yeah, all sorts of music.
Incremental radio has made an impressive start, with 5 stations progressing from franchise application to on-air completion from 4 transmitters during 1989. And in response to the needs of local communities, it's set to grow by another 18 stations during 1990. For anyone who wants more background on the setting up of an incremental radio station, we have a booklet which takes an informal look at the technologies and economics involved. Our address at the end of the programme. And the 2 additional London VHF incremental franchises have just been awarded. KISS FM will be providing soul and dance music, and Melody Radio will be an easy listening station featuring vocal, orchestral and some classical music.
Community radio was very much a 1989 event from start to finish. But the year has seen much further reaching broadcasting projects, if perhaps not so complete. NICAM Digital Stereo began trade tests in March from Crystal Palace, Emley Moor and their dependent relays. Official service was from September the 11th with a limited amount of stereo material. But that is set to increase throughout 1990 as the service becomes available nationally. At least Engineering Announcements has been in stereo every week since September, even though it's given us a few production headaches along the way.
Satellite television has been the other major talking point. BSB's launch went perfectly on August the 27th and the satellite is fully functional. So too is the IBA uplink station at Chilworth near Southampton. The massive 8-metre dishes now stand ready to beam DMAC signals on 5 channels up to the BSB satellite 22,000 miles out in space. Problems with BSB's receiver chips now seem to be resolved, and a choice of squarial or 35-centimetre dish should be available for a spring startup. The Astra satellite has benefited greatly from the British Sky channels, and sales of Astra systems have recently given dealers some grounds for optimism.
1990 will be a very interesting year, not just for the competition between Astra and BSB, but also for the technology and legislation of broadcasting. 1990 should be the year of DMAC, not only bringing new standards of clarity to pictures, but also multi-channel digital audio. And we should see the beginnings of widescreen television with 16:9 aspect ratio sets, possibly in the shops within the year. There'll also be far-reaching changes in broadcasting legislation. The bill is just beginning to work its way through Parliament, and much detailed debate lies ahead before it becomes law in about the autumn.
And 1990 will be the last official year of the IBA before it's transformed into 3 successor bodies: the Independent Television Commission, the Radio Authority, and a commercially run transmission engineering company, eventually to be privatised. Many of the transition arrangements are still to be finalised, but we hope to be on the air for as long as possible next year to keep you informed on all these fronts. Also, we'd welcome any feedback from you about Engineering Announcements as we enter our 20th year on the air, and almost certainly the last.
Our address, Engineering Information, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hampshire, SO 21 2QA.
There'll be no Engineering Announcements for the next 2 Tuesdays, but we shall be back on the 9th of January at 5:45 a.m. In the meantime, have a very good Christmas and a Happy New Year. From Janet Solkeld, Mari Nicholson, and from me, Adrian Good, and indeed from all those who have contributed to Engineering Announcements in 1989, goodbye for now.